straight away, but like, you gotta give us that 45 seconds to just figure this shit out on YouTube. It's like, okay, YouTube, good.
You can tell YouTube's like the platform of millennials, right? Because that's just like integrated, integrated into the technology and hardware.
Yeah,
right.
Just me.
People don't know.
Like, go live, YouTube. It's like, I'm not ready to go live yet. It's like, but we started streaming. Go live.
Yeah, because people don't know what the millennial pause is. It's a weirdly specific but easily observable phenomenon in anyone around 20 years of age or older. Usually when they record something, they'll have a brief pause right at the start of the video. Sometimes almost imperceptibly small of a pause. But it's something people picked up on, like it's an inherently millennial trait, because we're just not used to cameras or equipment or anything that's related to photography activating the second that you press the button. I remember back in the day, right, with a camera phone, you take the photo and you have to sit still for a second, and then you check it and it's not right, so you got to do it again.
Yep. Like the equivalent though for just anyone older than a millennial is like the whatever the equivalent is of like the Gen X pause or whatever is like click. Oh hey, now we've started recording. It's like, oh my, that's a solid like 5, 6, 7 seconds.
It's just it's reflective of the technology that you grew up using. But hello and welcome to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'll be your host for this episode, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever by the luscious and lovely Lucas Holland.
Hello there. I don't know what you've apparently done to make yourself louder this week than normally.
How am I louder? Also, both our cameras are not working on the live stream.
That's just because, oh god, I put Discord on the wrong side.
Yeah, we're back.
There we go.
Am I louder?
If I forget to put like Discord on one side and the Discord call on the other monitor, the moment I click onto ours to adjust the audio, it like covers it off.
Lucas, we're bad at our job, you can say it. But yes, this is the Wiki Weekdays podcast where myself and Lucas will scour the lengths and breadths of the internet to find a wiki on a subject that we'd like to discuss, bring it forward for a discussion, and then ask you, our audience, decide on which discussion you felt was best. To be clear, that's not which discussion cover the topic you're most interested in, but which topic just brought up the discussion that you found most interesting. Did you learn something? Was there something that, there's a neat observation one of us made?
And I like how you're basically setting up which wiki won this week when there was no wiki to win this week.
Well, that's what I was about to clarify. Of like, well, normally you, our audience, can go vote on which wiki you thought won this week, with the sole exception of last week, because that was a special episode for episode 69, which was very nice, where we just did Q&A.
Yeah, we did. It was a nice little Q&A episode, and I hope, people got what they thought were decent answers to the questions that we did answer, but
we tried our best, yes.
Did indeed, and we got some nice, lovely super chats, which of course we will always read out.
Yes, but Lucas, I'm doing the intro. I know I'm doing. It's like I'm not that rusty in regards to the intro.
No. It was just I was trying to just help out in a way that felt like it was regular to the conversation.
Yeah. Again, we're not very good at this. It's not that we do it for like 7 years. Mate.
Well, I haven't been. I'm nice and fresh to the scene, Carl.
We're doing this shit for 7 goddamn years, so you think I'll be better at it. But yes, if you'd like to vote on it, you can go check out the Discord found linked below. But, there's nothing to vote on for last week, so there's nothing to announce. The only thing to announce winner-wise is our pet of the week. And because we were so committed and dead set on getting questions for the QA episode, we forgot to plug Pet of the Week, which is the other gimmick we do where if you join our Patreon, you can subscribe at any tier. You gain access to the Pet of the Week server on our Discord. We can submit pictures of your pets, whatever your pet may be, and then members of our Discord will vote on which one they think is the best. Again, not necessarily the cutest, but just the one they think is best. That can be the funniest, that can be the cutest, that can be the one that has the best story behind it. And this week, we've got a winner and a half in Daisy, because when I saw that Daisy was the winner, wait, didn't Daisy already win? He went, no, Daisy won as part of a team. Mm-hmm. They're a solo act now. Right?
Yeah, and it's like, congrats to Daisy winning Pet of the Week via the most beautiful 2 words in the English language, Carl.
Default. So they won by default because they were the only person to enter. You know what? That's a win. A win's a win. As Dominic Toretto would say, a win is a win. But I like the idea. They were part of a team of pets last time. Now they're a solo act. They've gone out on their own.
I think they can succeed out on their own now. And
they did.
Yeah, congratulations, Daisy. Yeah, and to anyone wondering, like, Oryx is fine. I mentioned last week that he ended up at
Yes.
the emergency vets. He spent a couple of days under observation and stuff like that, racking up a nice, lovely vet bill.
He's really long now, though, because I had to squeeze him like a toothpaste tube. So he's just really long.
Squeeze it all out. But yeah, he's doing fine.
And what's good to know.
And
yeah. So if anyone was curious last week, like, is Lucas's dog okay? His dog is okay.
Yeah,
better than okay.
That's why we were just like not as a good for mentioning pet of the week last week because I was all in a bit of a disarray. But
it's kind of a dick move, right? Of when you're there fretting over the welfare of your pet. It's like, do you know what? Now let's talk about someone else's pet who's not at the vet at the moment.
So apologies to Ozzy for not bigging you up as much as we could have done last week. Congrats to Ozzy last week once again, and congrats to Daisy this week.
Yes, and I love that. That's the thing. It's like, congrats to the pet, the real winners. I think one day, like, we should have a thing of every week that the pet of the week gets bigger, and so it's just the screen, and we just have that for 2 hours.
Okay, well, I mean, if you want to, Carl, we have that technology.
We do have that technology. Yes, don't you have like a break screen made that is going to play very well? That's going to play very well for the audio listeners. But if you are an audio listener and you're liking what you're listening to, you can leave a like, you can comment, all that good stuff. For whatever platform you happen to be on. If you're on Tidal, we're not on there. So bug Jay-Z and maybe we'll go on there if he asks us. But until then, I guess it's just every other podcast service except for that one.
Mm-hmm. Or at least close to.
Yes. And Lucas, do you have anything like you need to say? Because I need to now take my vitamins. So I want to take my vitamins.
No, while Carl does that, I guess we'll get a lovely little crack on the mic.
He's cracking up on the can of pop directly into the microphone.
Yeah,
I'm taking my vitamins.
Carl just sneaks them vitamins in as he just drinks that really luscious looking smoothie.
The worst bit is, it's because this was a potential sponsor. And I'm not going to say the sponsor's name because maybe they'll reach out again, but the sponsor never went anywhere. But they sent me 6 months worth of the product and it's shit. As in, it doesn't taste very good, but it is full of vitamins. But I'm not going to say it because they didn't end up paying me. But I did get 6 months worth of it. So
hey, I'll leave an honest review of saying that this is beneficial to the health, but I don't like the taste. And it was
no.
They just quietly back away, fade into existence.
But they did send me 6 months worth, so I guess I've got to drink it. And it's like, whoever told you the most disrespectful shit I've ever had in my life? And I had a girl stop over, and in the morning I made her a coffee, and while she was having a coffee, I was taking my vitamins, and every time I took one of my vitamins, she just looked at me and I went, well done. And it was just so disrespectful. Just every time I took a vitamin, she went, well done. It's like, so I take 10 different vitamins.
Man, what's worse though? Is it that? Or is it having somebody give you shit for looking after yourself? Someone, say for example, that's oh, well, using moisturizer is not a very manly thing to do.
I don't care because I look like a ball sack when they're 40. Yeah. Living well is the best revenge. But yes. I think that's everything we need to plug up for. We can crack straight on. Right? Did I finally get everything we needed to mention in the intro? While also taking care of myself and looking fantastic?
Probably. If not, we'll remember to mention it in the break. It's fine.
That's when we mentioned the Patreon, mentioned the Discord, mentioned Super Chats, mentioned the Pet of the Week, and
memberships. We have memberships now.
Oh, they're a thing as well because YouTube will never end, right?
Watch out free.
You told me there's a new thing YouTube's introducing that we're also gonna have to mention at the start of videos, right?
They've announced. We'll see whether it ever comes into fruition. But they've announced we're gonna be releasing it so that people can hype videos now. And okay.
Another thing that we're gonna have to plug in addition to leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, follow us on social media, follow us on Twitch, follow us on Patreon, support us on Discord, this, and that.
Smash every one of them buttons.
At some point, it's gonna be a thing of do you ever remember when the Kinect was a newer technology and there was all those ideas that Sony and Microsoft had for Kinect and Kinect style systems where it's they were selling it to advertisers of, hey, here's someone playing a game. They can't continue playing the game until they stand up, raise their arms and shout McDonald's. And that was patented. I forget which company patented it. I think it might have been Sony. They patented it as a way to lock off gameplay until the person actively acknowledges the brand on screen by standing up and shouting the name. And it never went anywhere, but they do own the patent.
You know what's a better patent that they own though? If
What's
it
that?
was PlayStation own a patent for a little buddy that would presumably be like some kind of teddy bear related thing of like a
That was
little
watching
teddy
you
bear
masturbate.
that sits next to you while you game and tells you you're doing a good job. It just watches
That
what your
all
gameplay is and starts being like, "Yay, good job, you
that,
did well."
that also records everything in your house. Is that remember when like Microsoft was
Forget
like
about that protocol. It's a cute thing that tells your kids that it's doing well.
when people were asking Microsoft about the Kinect of are you selling data to advertisers? No. Okay, why does the Kinect need to know the exact layout of our room and why is it able to identify individual brands that are in that room? Forget about it. Why does it always have to be on? Is it so you have a camera pointed directly into our front room and can view our consumer habits? And shut up now. McDonald's.
It's just there in case like you want to ask your Connect to turn the volume up, right?
And then do you know what? A couple of years later, Amazon said, "Here's a Bluetooth speaker with Alexa connected to it for £10 on Black Friday," and I bought it. And it's like now, just Amazon can hear me. Just masturbate, I guess. But it was a £10.
You had to go there, didn't you?
It's what they're always watching, right? Because that's the worry. There's a great John Oliver bit about it where it's like internet security is such a complex issue. People find it really difficult to fathom and pass through because a lot of it's like very technical, dry information. So he framed it as, "Can they see my dick?" And he has like Edward Snowden in, and he goes through all these like really complex sounding issues and laws and proposals to amendments of laws, and he's just like, "Can they see my dick if they do this?" Yes, they can.
Yeah. So
And the answer is just they can always see your dick.
now every time that Carl says, "Hey Alexa, look for pictures of penises," very loudly into his microphone, so that hopefully someone at home, their Alexa's like, "Wait, what?"
It's wild, right?
But yeah, just it's one of those of like, I'm always that person that sits there and going, "We've already lost the battle at this point. Just make my life more convenient."
It's the thing, yeah. It's like if you had Facebook, you've lost basically all of your privacy. It's like they say the quite glib comparison, but I feel it's quite apt. Is like privacy is like your virginity. Once you've lost it, you can't get it back. It's like you're not deleting shit off the internet. So if you've already got a Facebook profile, you made one, your privacy is pretty much moot. So like, as you said, you might as well. If I'm going to be the product and people are going to be selling my information, where's my fucking cut?
There's a reason that I spoke closely and clearly into that mic. I'm glad we got someone.
Yeah. Have you ever seen as well how Alexa works as well? Because everyone always thinks like, well, it says it's Amazon say it's not listening all the time. How does it know to listen for its name? It's programmed to listen for the X. That's why it's called Alexa, because X is one of the most uncommon sounds in English. So it minimizes the amount of false positives.
I have noticed though more recently that like
It'll beep at like 3 in the morning.
well, no, it's just that I don't know if there's been an update or something, but I feel as though my Alexa finds it more difficult to hear me now. I feel like lately, the past week or two, every time I've gone to say it, I've had to then repeat what I've said because they haven't heard me the first time I've had to speak up.
Mine does mouth off a bit as well. Might be going out the window soon. But you know what you can do? You can sense Black Friday coming up. So it's going to stop. Like they'll sell you the new one. Like the new one is better audio, right? And then iRobot happens.
Well, I was more thinking, that what they're doing is pretending to not be able to hear you until Black Friday happens, so that then when they put the Black Friday on, then you're buying things secretly more expensive than they were, but they'll tell you it was a deal.
Maybe. Well, they always do that, right? Like shops.
That's what they've started getting more and more commonly known for. Yeah, is like, oh, here's a price checker of what this product was a week before the summer sale or Prime Day or whatever. It was cheaper a week ago than it is on the Prime Day 50% off deal.
There are laws about it, but like the law is that if you're going to advertise something as having reduced price, it has to be at the price it was reduced from for 2 weeks at least. So companies will just have it at two. Like, say if you're trying to do a deal on cereal, so we're going to do a half price deal on cereal. We're just going to raise the price for a couple of weeks. Like, so sometimes when you go into a shop, it's like, why are cornflakes £4? I'm not paying fucking £4 for cereal. Mm-hmm. Then you'll go in like 2 weeks later and it's like, ooh, £1.50. What a deal. I'll get 2. That's why. We're not talking about that, we're talking about What, Lucas? What is your subject for this week?
Well, my subject for this week, Carl, is another Pokemon related thing. I know we talk about Pokemon like quite a bit. Obviously, it's just between both of us, we've both been massive fans of the franchise for a long time, and I guess there's no better way to talk about Pokemon than talk about the one that started it off for most people, and that is, of
Okay.
course, the Mareep himself. The little Mareep.
Continue.
Okay, I'm just gonna wait and see if Mareep goes all the way off screen. I'm looking forward to seeing how far this goes. But we're not talking about Mareep, we're talking about the guy who kicked off many of our Pokemon adventures, and that is Ash Ketchum.
Or in individual Japanese, it's Satoshi, right?
I'm sure we'll find out. I haven't looked that
Okay.
up. But
So
yeah,
we're talking specifically today about Ash Ketchum, the character from the original Pokemon anime.
it's true, and it does say, at the top of this fandom page here, for the counterpart appearing in the games, see Red. And
See,
that's
so right
one
away,
distinction.
Red is my boy. I will reiterate my desire for the Pokemon games to pull their fucking finger out and make Red the Sephiroth of Pokemon. Make him just the optional super boss of every Pokemon game, like Cynthia. Like, just pick a core few characters and just have them always come in at the end of the game to whomp your character's ass.
Yeah. And I would enjoy it if we were able to get a crossover at some point where Ash Ketchum, with his like championship winning team, was able to come across into a new region, but that would more be like a fun one-time gimmick thing. I think, yeah, you're right in saying that they should lean more heavily into just Red being a super boss.
It should be the optional super boss. Like, one of the people our age, I mentioned like the millennial pause earlier, people our age, when you ask them like, well, when you have those lists of like, oh, the greatest twists in gaming, it's normally for people our age, when you go to Kanto in silver or gold and Red's at the top of the mountain after you've done the game to challenge you. And he's just there. He's been there the entire fucking time, training.
And as well, just the iconic, no words, just ...
Ellipses. There's my favourite quote from Red is ellipses, and then ellipses with an exclamation mark. She's really angry about
it. But yeah, we're not talking about Red to clarify, because Red...
there's nothing
great,
to say. He doesn't have a personality.
Red isn't much of a character. It's just the person that you played as in the first game, and then turns up 2 more times to just say ...
If we like Red's wiki, it would like name Red, like favorite thing Pokemon, blood type Pokemon, birthday Pokemon.
I like the idea that it would just be like favorite thing Red, favorite color Red, blood type Red.
Yeah, to be fair, that could work. He's like Roger Reddit, right? There we go. What can you tell me about Ash?
Well, Ash Ketchum has a quote here, Carl.
I love as well Ash Ketchum, catch 'em all.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And obviously, the first thing people are going to mention is, well, catch 'em all or gotta catch 'em all is not the thing that they say in Japan.
Yeah, they say something like everyone have a nice day or something, right?
It's rough. Like,
it's not that.
We'll give it a Google, but it's something more along the lines of like the vibe is just catch your favorites in Japan.
Yep.
The emphasis on collecting was put across by the like Western side of marketing.
Yeah, when America got their hands on it, like, oh, how many Pokemon are there? 150? That's 151. Hey, that's 150 plushes.
True. But yeah, the quote here from Ash Ketchum is just, and I quote, "Pokemon name, I choose you."
Which, to be fair, it's a pretty good quote. Like, well, what's your favourite like Ash Ketchum like moment then from the anime?
Well, they could have just gone Pikachu, I choose you, right?
Yeah, that is the quote, right? But do you have like a favourite Ash Ketchum
I choose you in like the really nasally voice.
He's not as whiny as that. He was in the earlier seasons.
I'm just not good at doing the Ash voice.
Joe is that whiny. The Pokemon trainer in Smash Bros.
Oh,
it's like, go Squirtle!
Go Charizard!
I refuse to play Pokemon Trainer in Smash Bros. How fucking annoying their voice is. It's Squirtle, no! I could do better voice acting. Hire me!
I always play as female Pokemon Trainer in Smash Bros. Because the male Pokemon Trainer is just like, oh, go Ivysaur! And it's like, no, shut up.
Just Scott Malkinson from fucking South Park.
Oh,
Do you have like a
God.
favourite Ash moment?
When he died.
Oh, when he turns to stone, like the saddest moment of our childhood. When he turns to stone and Pikachu starts crying, you're like,
When
no! It's like,
every single parent in the cinema was like, "What the? Why are you making all of our children cry?"
the 90s equivalent of when Optimus Prime died. Only
Mm.
the 80s, when Optimus Prime died, he stayed fucking dead. It's a great moment as well, because, like, it is probably like a core memory for almost everybody our age who's into the same stuff as us. Anyone who's into like nerdy shit like we are and is around our age will probably pick that out as like a core memory of their childhood of when Ash dies and turns to stone, like all the Pokemon gathering around him and crying, and then he comes back.
It's like there's that from that, but then the bit that really kicks off me crying in that scene is just the two Pikachu slapping each other tired as fuck, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Ah,
Because they've just been
ah."
fighting for so long. Or like when Ash sees Mewtwo and is like, and he fucking throws hands.
He
And he sees all people.
he just straight up goes and punches Mewtwo.
And he sees all people have like power scaled that of like Mewtwo had to use its psychic power to block that because it knew Ash is packing some fucking howitzers.
Well, have you seen the people that did like the trend on social media of doing like strength scaling to like Ash as a workout of like, well, Ash casually carries around not Tyranttar,
Pikachu.
Larvitar.
Yeah, which is like what, 120 pounds or something.
And it's like, oh, Larvitar's like this 40-kilo weight that Ash just casually picks up and carries around for long periods of time.
The one is that he has a Pikachu on his head. And Pikachu is not that heavy, but it's the equivalent of like 2 or 3 bags of sugar. Just on his head with perfect balance.
Forever.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Not so sure if I could throw a fucking Pokeball.
I love just looking at that. Of like, oh, all the different times when just Ash Ketchum's casually benching Pokemon that are like 50 kilos as a 10-year-old.
There's that like one of like Dawn, isn't there? Carrying like a Pupitar or something. It's like it weighs like 100 kilo or something like that. Or like the classic one of like one from like one of the Pokemon sticker books where it's a Diglett on a chair, and I was like, wait, what? That's my favourite one.
What's it burrowing into? Don't question it.
They're my favourite ones of like before like the Pokemon brand became such a monolith where they absolutely refused to let people go off model. Where like there was that period in the 90s where like people making like sticker books or there was like Pokemon activity books. There weren't like rules about what the Pokemon had to do. Or like the anime where randomly in one episode there's like a dog in the background of one of them, right? Just a regular dog.
Yeah, I think even the first episode, it shows just like the opening scenes is just regular birds flying past.
Yeah, which they just later said is Pokemon we've not seen yet.
Yeah. And speaking of the anime and the first episode, Ash Ketchum is the main protagonist of the first 25 seasons of Pokemon the series. He's still a 10-year-old Pokemon trainer from Pallet Town, though.
Have you seen as well? They talk about it's like he is the millennial icon, and he's finally what all those workers want. He's 10 years old with 15 years experience. He's the perfect worker, right?
Oh, God. And yeah, he is from Pallet Town in the Kanto region, who has always dreamed of becoming the world's best Pokemon master.
Which he does. And is it the hypest thing of when he finally becomes a Pokemon master and they play the theme song in the show?
Yeah, and also just the fact that they were just really just on top of it in terms of what we're going to do to end Ash's journey. He's like, fuck it, greatest hits of just going back to see all of like the Squirtle Squad and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they acknowledge as well, like they said that because that was a running joke, right? If he wants to be a Pokemon master, but he loses all the time, it's like because the moment he wins, his story's over, and I respect the fact that the moment he won, they said, okay, Ash's story's over. We're going to start a new story with a new protagonist. So are you going to bring Ash back? It's like, why? His story's done.
In 25 years, we'll bring him back as the super boss.
Yeah.
And
he's just chilling.
Yeah, like...
The Squirtle Squad's so good. Why is the Squirtle Squad so fucking rad?
Squirtle Squad. But like...
Okay.
Not only is the Squirtle Squad so good, but also just maybe the best version of those triangle sunglasses.
Yes. What's your favourite thing from the first season of the anime that they never brought back because it was too fucking weird? And why is it the old Bulbasaur? Remember, like, they go to the forest and there's a Bulbasaur that's really old, which establishes that Pokemon don't evolve as they age; they evolve as they get stronger. There's like a 95-year-old Bulbasaur or something.
Oh god. I don't like that's the thing. I don't remember too much of the original Pokemon series, but I have to say the moment that stuck in my head the most. Of course, Carl can help me with this one. Everyone at home can help me with this one.
Go for it.
Of course, it's just Diglett dig, Diglett dig.
Trio.
Trio.
It's so good. It's so catchy.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, the episode that it's in, it's basically 90% of the background noise is Diglett dig, Diglett dig, trio, Diglett dig, Diglett dig. Why? There must be like a dance remix of that out there somewhere, right? I'd dance to that. If I was in the club and like the Diglett dig remix came on, I'd be breaking it down, just being like, I'd be crip walking to a trio bit. Let's go.
So Ash Ketchum is the first human character introduced in the series. Yeah, I think like the entire season just starts with Ash in bed, right?
As it should. As all good stories do.
No, it starts with a dream sequence, right?
We've been trying to catch Pokemon, right?
And yeah, and then it's like maybe
it's being the Pokemon Master.
It's like a Voltorb blows up on him or something, but then it turns out that it's his Voltorb alarm clock waking him up or something like that.
Oh man, how much of a legend as well is like the race episode of Pokemon where there's that guy who sits on the electrode and he just rolls, right?
It's a great thing of, oh well, you know, Ash has to get the Rapidash to trust Ash because Rapidash will burn you otherwise with its flames.
I adore that concept. And it's obviously ripped off of unicorn mythology of people don't like unicorns in myth will allow people to ride them, but you have to be pure of heart. And they say unicorns are unnaturally strong, graceful, and agile, and only someone who's completely pure of heart and without sin can ride a unicorn. And I feel like they adopted that to Rapidash, which does have a horn.
It is the unicorn Pokemon, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, its flames will not burn somebody who it trusts.
Yeah, my own chat says it's a battle between some other guy in the league. It might be. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since I watched the very first episode of Pokemon. I'll tell you that for free. Probably about 30 years.
I've watched a couple of the more action-packed episodes where they do like the battles or the Orange Island trials and stuff like that, but I've not specifically gone back and watched the first episode.
Oh, you go back and watch like compilations of the Team Rocket.
Oh yeah,
you forget how good the villains were Team Rocket, right?
They were, yeah.
Like, never forget that Jessie. There's a moment where she turns around and her hair stays on the same side of her head. Legend. And they didn't give a fuck. Never
forget as well the fact that Team Rocket the entire time was saying the wrong catchphrase.
So is Team Rocket blasting off again, right?
No. So let's
their speech.
Yeah, their little like their speech that they do.
They customize it for themselves, right? Let's see if we can remember it. How much we can remember? So Lucas, do you want to be Jesse or James? Do you want to start?
So I'll start. Prepare for trouble.
And make it double.
Is it just go straight into protect the world from devastation?
To unite all within our, to unite all under our nation. No, don't look it up. Let's both look it up and do it. I want to do the Team Rocket. I've never had an opportunity to do this.
Okay.
Let's do it together and let's do it super dramatic. Here we go. So I now have in front of me the Team Rocket motto.
Okay, yeah.
Do you have the same thing?
Start?
Go start. Go on.
Okay then. Prepare for trouble.
And make it double.
To protect the world from devastation.
To unite all peoples within our nation.
To denounce the evils of truth and love.
To extend our reach to the stars above.
Jesse.
James.
Team Rocket blasts off at the speed of light.
Surrender now, or prepare to fight.
And that's when chat says,
Meow. That's right.
But yes, that is the motto that Team Rocket say as in like Jesse and James. But then the
Butch and Cassidy have a different one, right?
There's like a different motto that they find out that like at one point they recite it to like Giovanni or to a Team Rocket higher up or something, and it's like they actually get it wrong.
I think Butch and Cassidy have a different one. Butch and Cassidy are like their rivals, right?
Let's
And that's
look
the thing,
up the
Jesse
Butch
James,
Cassidy
Butch
one.
Cassidy. I always like that as well, like the little... They're not adult references, but they're references that a kid wouldn't get, of like Jesse James, Butch Cassidy, and the Sundance Kid.
So the one that Cassidy and Butch say is to infect the world with devastation, to blight all people in every nation, to denounce the goodness of truth and love, to extend our wrath to the stars above. We're Team Rocket, circling Earth all day and night. Surrender to us now, or you will surely lose the fight.
You know what? That shit sucks.
It's not as catchy, but I do like the retcon of... Actually, these guys are so shit, they didn't even remember the motto correctly.
They made a better version. And the thing is as well, I found the lyrics on rapgenius.com, so they know. They know those lyrics are fire. And they've got 5-star rating. Because of course they have. Also, the thing I've got to know about Team Rocket is when they do the pose, and they pose as the shape of an R. Branding to the fucking core. It's also a super easy cosplay.
It is, yes, I've done it in the past.
It's a super easy cosplay of just, you either wear all black with a big red R, or all white with a big red R.
And of course, Ash Ketchum's job, with the help of Brock, Misty, any other companions, like there's like what are some of the others? There's May, there's Serenity, there's Go, there's I can't... Who's the one in the Orange Islands? Do you remember his name?
Goober. The
Goober.
Goober Squad. Well, he was the one who replaced Brock because the Pokemon Company were worried that Brock would be seen as a racist stereotype, and he's not. He's based on people from Okinawa who have a naturally darker skin tone, but they were worried that he would come across as a racial stereotype, or just I don't know how, but they were worried about it, and they had fair reason to be. They had like characters like Jinx, talked about in the previous episode, and it turns out that when Pokemon actually did some research, they found out no one gave a fuck, and no one knew, and everyone assumed that he was black, which I found like quite humorous.
Yeah, I always thought he was as a kid. Yeah,
like Brock is one of those. He joins the pantheon of anime characters who are just honorarily black, like Piccolo, which I love as well. Like just black people, like no, Piccolo's black, and everyone just agrees. Yeah, okay, Piccolo's black.
Yeah, I know.
Like, have you seen that man's style when he's like not wearing his gi?
And yeah,
no white man could pull off that look.
Just Brock as well was just like, oh, is it great to have this like weird guy who's flirting badly with all these women in a kid's show?
Oh, that's it. Oh, yeah, it's because Brock has lined eyes, so they were worried that it would come across as a racial stereotype. But yeah, that's the... I was getting the details. Sorry, so the Pokemon Company thought he would come across as a racial stereotype of Asian people because he has lined eyes, which is a pretty nasty stereotype about Asian people. But it turns out that when they queried people in America and the West about it, they just assumed Brock was black. They didn't read him as Asian because they assumed his big poofy hair was like an afro, and his dark complexion was the fact he was black. Because there was a bunch of stuff in the show they try to westernize it, right? Like, we have jelly donuts.
But there's still rice balls, which made it way more confusing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Because of that, though, and then westernizing some aspects of the show, no one read any of the characters as Asian. They read them as Caucasian, and they read Brock as black.
Yeah, and
they read his hair as being a stylized afro.
Like,
so I got all the details mixed up, but I remember them in the end.
Yeah. It threw me off way more of just like, okay, well, they've got onigiri, and it's like, they could have just said, hey, they're eating rice balls. And it's like, that concept of they eat rice as a snack be way less confusing to me than why are there jelly donuts that look like rice?
No, do you know how I always read them? I always read them as powdered donuts.
See, I never did.
Okay, so I always read the jelly donuts when they're obviously the rice balls. I read them as a stylized, very powdered or sugared donut. Or have you ever had like a snowball? One of those?
Yeah.
Something like that, a snack like that. That's the thing. It played to their benefit because it ended with nobody thinking that Brock was a racial stereotype because everyone just assumed he was a different race. Which is fascinating, right?
And Dr. Shakamoto mentions Gary got 10 badges in Kanto, and the way I always read that is that actually when you play the games, you just go to 8 gyms that are in Kanto, not that there is only 8 gyms and 8 towns.
There's probably like some like shit tier gyms that no one goes to, right?
I always read it as, oh yeah, because like even in the anime, right, where Gary gets those 10 badges, it isn't necessarily that they've explored all of Kanto, it's just that they've gone down this one meandering path.
This as well, doesn't Ash get... Cause it's probably just a mistake, but the retcon, I imagine, is you don't just get badges for going to gyms. There's also other Pokemon contests that you can win. There are beauty contests. There's like the Eevee girls, the kimono girls, right? They have like a competition. I always assume that the badges that you got, you could win stuff like that and would get a badge or a ribbon.
Because they are very strict with like the fact that it's all a very like official league system in the anime, and they still keep that element. But I just kind of assumed it's like, hey, there's gyms everywhere, but you just only need 8 badges to participate in a tournament.
And I guess the thing we have to mention, which is never confirmed in the main anime, but in the manga and in like the one shot where it's about Red, where they confirm that fan theory people have had for years, which is gym leaders have multiple different teams, and say if they ask you, is this your first gym, they'll use a weaker team.
And obviously that was probably them taking the fan theory, going, that explains it way better, let's retcon it in.
Well, I always assumed it was the case. When you go back to Kanto in Silver, all the gym leaders there have stronger Pokemon. And I always assume that's because they know you're a visiting champion from another region, so they don't have to hold back. They know you already possess the 8 badges necessary.
But there's nothing in-game to clarify that at any point. Yeah.
And I did like how they clarified that. And it's just, you have that great bit where it's just Red's first battle. Is this your first battle? Okay, and he's got like just the separate ball that has like 2 Pokemon in there, and they're weaker versions of his main team.
Oh, this is your first gym. Okay, cool. Opens up like, this guy's a fucking noob draw, and it's just got 2 Pokeballs in there.
Yeah. And if you go in and say like Garyoke, you got 10 badges, you open it, it's got a shotgun in there. Just a gun. The ultimate Pokemon.
And then it does say that Ash is the winner of the Orange League and the Kanto Battle Frontier, and he is also the Alolan Region's Pokemon champion. And
go Ash.
Yeah, I like the fact that, okay, well, won the Orange League, but the Orange League is like, you know, the small... Yeah, it's like the small trophy. It's not proving that Ash is like the best Pokemon trainer. It's like he's allowed to get a couple of wins along the way, but he's not allowed to become Pokemon Master yet.
Yeah, it's like it's not the World Cup, but it's like, you know, it's a divisional title or regional title, but it's not the World Championship, which is what he wants. It shows that you're good, but not the best.
Yeah,
which is the song, right? God, that song's so good. Yeah. I was singing it when you told me that. Oh, that's the song. That's the episode you're going to do. When I was like doing the mid break, I was singing the Pokemon theme song. Like, why is this theme song so fucking good?
It's always the best, right?
Have you seen it perform live as well? When they like the lead singers, like everyone's like, "Why he's one of the best singers in the world," and they just got in to sing the fucking Pokemon theme song. Like the guy's got some pipes,
and he also loves performing that song, which makes it so much more hype.
Would you not love performing a song that literally everyone in your audience loses their shit for?
Oh yeah,
any musician would kill for a hit like that.
And yeah, says he's one of the best 8 trainers in the Pokemon world after defeating Raihan and reaching Master Class in the World Coronation Series. And I think that's just what happens after he wins the Alola League, right? That's the final thing that Ash does, is that he goes to then, after you've become the master of one region, you then all meet up in, like, as you say, essentially the World Cup of Pokemon.
Yeah, and in regards to Ash's like winning team, or at least like, you know, his standouts, besides Pikachu, what do you consider to be the ringer on his team? Because it's got to be Charizard, right? That's his boy.
Well, it depends, because it goes through different ones, right? Where it starts out as Charizard being the MVP, but then throughout each season, it's essentially just that. Oh well, each Pokemon, and I guess it must be Charizard because Charizard, I at least remember at some point, like, no, it's not, is it? It's Ash's Greninja versus Mega Charizard X.
Yeah. So I consider like Charizard to be one of his most iconic Pokemon, because that's the one that keeps coming back, right? Like the Charizard goes with the army of Charizards to train in the mountains. And it just periodically comes back, and it's like it's so much more powerful.
But yeah, I think throughout the different regions, Ash essentially gets a different ringer that they want. Like, for example, when it was Gen 4, they made that push for Lucario, right? I think he became one of the main stars on his team, and it's like,
Do me and you both hate Lucario?
Only because it was the perfect kind of coming together of the time when Pokemon, I was starting to like age out potentially of Pokemon, where Diamond and Pearl was what, like, around the time we were about 12, 13 kind of age. So it was like that period where, people start thinking, oh, I'm too cool for Pokemon. Pokemon's for kids. And then that just kind of means that, okay, well, around that time, you're probably less likely to like those Pokemon, but then Lucario doesn't look very good, but it got this massive push as the mascot for Gen 4.
To the point where they just gave you one, right? They say, "Oh, it's a super rare Pokemon. It senses your aura. It wants to be with like your strong."
I mean,
trainer.
That was in Gen 6, so
I don't want it. Go away.
Yeah.
Even though it's voiced by Goku.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. I can't remember whether specifically like. Yeah, okay, Ash did apparently get a Lucario at some point, but I couldn't remember specifically, but I knew that it was likely because how much they just wanted to push Lucario, including probably another reason that I had so much distaste for Lucario at the time, replacing Mewtwo in Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Not just getting a spot in Smash, but getting rid of Mewtwo for Lucario.
To be fair, Mewtwo's hitbox was so bad.
But that doesn't matter.
They needed a game to rejig it, but
they got rid of the OG boss of all Pokemon to put fucking Goober McGoober in.
Yeah. Again, the thing is though, Lucario is fun to play because it's voiced by Goku. So just pretend you're playing Goku. When they say put Goku in Smash, it's already there. Like Sean Schemmel is the voice actor for Lucario, and all he does is just go. That's all he does. It's like, well, who else are you going to get to do that noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
But would you consider that to be his ringer then?
There's a few over time. I think he's got a pretty strong.
The Greninja's probably the strongest one, right?
Greninja becomes Ash Greninja, so ultimately I'd have to say it's got to be the secondary mascot to Ash's. That he's the one Pokemon that ever got an Ash form.
Yeah, he's literally got his name in it, so it would be his default. But I do like his Butterfree. It's like the saddest episode of anime.
Was only there for a handful of episodes before he gave it away.
Yeah, it's what they talk about, isn't it? Of like when real men cry, and it's just like the Ash pulling the hat down with the tear in his eyes.
Butterfree episode. Oh god, and yeah, it's a. I think it is just one of those where it's difficult to lock down because I think, for example, like Ash had a impressive Snivy,
Smugleaf,
the Smugleaf, Staraptor. I think Ash had a Staraptor that was one of the pivotal Pokemon, and just, I mean, I guess maybe it must have here, right, of like all the Pokemon, because
he's got a big list of Pokemon because he's trying to catch them all, right? But there's just like a couple of standouts, like his one Tauros from that episode that I got banned, but there's like one like leader Tauros that is always the one that he calls in. He doesn't call in one of the 30, he always calls in the main Tauros. One.
Yeah.
And it's like the leader of the Tauros.
Okay, so it says here that like Pokemon on hand in the first, in the Kanto region. Obviously, you got the classic of just Pikachu and the 3 starters. You got Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and then Charmander becomes the Charizard eventually.
Yes.
To be fair, one of your early ones that I adore is just Krabby going into Kingler, and I love that episode.
Krabby's so good.
Where it's like, for all I've got is this shitty Krabby.
And it evolves though, and Kingler's
and it evolves mid-battle to kick her. I think it fights Arcanine, right?
It's also as well because Kingler's like just got one of the Pokemon cries are largely just the Pokemon saying their name. Then there's a few where they were like, "Okay, what were you doing?" Like with Kingler, it's like
balls.
Yeah, it's. I remember Kingler always sounded like saying "cookie," right? It's like,
yeah,
that's Kingler. Or everyone always points out like Staryu going, "Here." Yeah, like in the manliest voice ever.
He's got a Muck, 30 Tauros,
Well,
Snorlax.
to be fair, that's a hell of a team, right?
It's just 30 Tauros.
I remember laughing so hard when a mutual friend Charlie talked about that. Just why doesn't Ash just have 6 executes? He's just like, that's it, 36 Pokemon, let's go. Because just overwhelm them with 36 eggs.
And I love here that it's like, okay, well, in training, Primeape, because Primeape just stole Ash's hat and he had to catch it to get his hat back, right?
Get his hat back.
And then
He loves his hat because it was a gift from his mum.
And then
That's a neat little character trait.
Speaking of his mum, you've got one Pokemon that's listed as at home.
Mr. Mime.
Good old Mr. Mime.
Little Hawaiian shirt on with his hand on Ash's mum's name. Eating off the floor. We talked about this in a previous episode, right? It's so fucking weird how Mr. Mime eats off the floor like an animal.
But then bangs Ash's mum on the reg.
There's that one of those, I hate them, but like those dark fan theories that like Mr. Mime is like the reincarnation of Ash's dad.
Oh yeah.
I hate those like theories. Like, oh, everyone in the Pokemon world is dead. Because like Lieutenant Surge mentions the war.
Yeah.
Which I always read as just he's trying to scare a little kid.
Maybe. I mean, the war obviously does explain like the lack of every father figure in Pokemon.
You know, I've always read that as they're all at fucking work. Salaryman.
Yeah.
So when you go to like Lumino City and there's just giant buildings and you walk inside and there's like salarymen are like, fuck off with this Pokemon nonsense, I've got to earn money. I just reckon that's why actually he's just always at work on business.
Yeah, fair. It is Japan, right? Working our asses off. And then release Pokemon he had were Butterfree, Pidgeot, and Lapras. I didn't realize he got rid of the Lapras.
Yeah, it's like let go with its herd, right? Because they say Lapras was like endangered. So,
because Lapras was obviously especially featured in the Orange Island segment, where just Lapras was how they got around.
Yeah,
it was the fairy Pokemon. And one Pokemon that was traded away, which is Eradicate.
The thing is that Raticate's so good. You know, if you had a Fear Rattata, you never would have lost.
It wouldn't.
Even Arceus falls to the Fear Rattata. You will know fear.
I wonder what Pokemon he has in like the second gen set. I remember the Totodile. Yeah, he's got a Totodile. He adds the Totodile. He gets a Fanpy from an egg. Gets a Bayleaf and a Noctowl. Gets a Heracross.
Yeah, it's like the Chikorita, right? Like the Chikorita that follows him around.
Mm-hmm. So I think Heracross from Gen 2 is probably the most notable one, right?
You're mispronouncing it. It's Heraboss.
Heraboss, indeed. And
doesn't Heracross like flip a Snorlax in one of the episodes?
He flipped a tank.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he flips a tank and throws it away with ease.
Can we also talk about Snorlax? Of just that one moment in the anime where it fires fucking hyper beams out of its eyes? Right? Isn't that the thing of like, and everyone's like, is that why it always keeps its eyes closed? Because just whenever it opens its eyes, just fucking hyper beams fly out of them.
I think one of the greatest anime moments in terms of the earlier episodes is just the episode where Snorlax eats everything on the entire island. And it's like, aha, Snorlax has got nothing left to eat. What's it going to do? It's stuck on this island. And just perfect form dives in and just butterflies its way across to the next island.
Because that's what you say about Snorlax, right? Like, it's capable of surprising bursts of speed. He just doesn't like moving around.
Yeah, it's just
that one.
Snorlax is there like, oh fuck, I've got no food left. Well, time to just swim to the next island at like 100 miles an hour so I can gorge on more food.
I love it in Pokemon Unite, they have like a reference to that of Snorlax moves faster if it's moving towards a berry. If there's just a berry, it'll move faster in that direction.
And it says at some point he gave away a Beedrill. Not even like a trade, he just gave it away.
To be fair, if I had like a 5-foot tall bee that thought I was its master, I would not trade that away. I would take that shit into McDonald's every day and say, give me a cheeseburger. Or I'm just going to leave it in here. You can get it out.
Trying to have a look for our Gen 3 main editions here. It appears as though the main ones on hand are the Fanpy turns into a Donphan.
Donphan was so good, like rollout was so broken, right? It couldn't stop.
It just It becomes the Juggernaut. You can't end it.
Oh, man, do you remember that episode where there's that like there's the EV trainer who EV trains his Sandshrew? He gives it like the little macho brace, and he like makes it dive into the water.
A macho brace before macho braces existed in the game.
And like that's the theory. Like he was EV training his Sandshrew because he makes it immune to water, right?
Yep. He literally stopped it being weak to water, or just, oh Ash, you're such a bad trainer that's never going to get anywhere. Because my Sandshrew can just dive in water and be happy.
Loves it. Go. What's your favorite bullshit like moment then? Is it because there's the Sandshrew jumping in the water? There's Pikachu turning on the sprinklers in Brock's gym. Most of them are Pikachu's. There's Pikachu running along the hyper beam in one of the movies, right?
Yeah.
Where he runs on a hyper beam. It's like, what?
I find it very funny just when Pikachu decides, I don't need to evolve, I'm just going to be faster than Raichu.
Yeah,
like, that's not really how it works, but anime logic, is different from the game logic.
It's in the fan theory as well, that because Pikachu like electrocutes that entire cloud of Pidgey in the first episode,
it's just
you got a bunch of speed EVs.
And got loads
he was over leveled. They got a bunch of speed EVs.
And yeah, he also gained like a Sceptile, a Corphish, and an Apom. And I always thought the Apom was in like the second gen, where like of the anime, like the second bunch of episodes, because I remember like Apom and Totodile like monkeying around together, but that might just be something my imagination has made up because both of them are cheeky and like to get up to hijinks a lot.
It's great. It's like Apom, the bitch slap Pokemon.
I just am so sad that Ambipom exists.
It's terrible, right?
Its design is awful compared to Apom, and just Apom is so useless in battle. I'd rather be able to use Apom because of the design, but it's got no stats.
Here's the thing as well, like, is like Primate the absolute just most bottom of the barrel archetype of like Pokemon designs? Because almost all of them are bad. Like Mankey is cute, and Primate gets like Gen 1 armor, but like Ambipom is terrible. Those three like the trio of like fire, grass, and water monkeys, they're all fucking terrible. Slacking's alright. Rillaboom, I hate Rillaboom.
Infernape, I like Infernape.
Infernape's cool, but like, then it kind of like retroactively gets ruined by firefighting being like the dominant typing for like 4 gens in a row. But there's so many Pokemon based on monkeys, and a lot of them are just bad.
Yeah,
Like, subpar.
But you are forgetting, Carl, the what's it called? Primape's evolution, is it Annihilate?
No, it dies.
Where it gets so angry that it dies, but keeps fighting.
That's that like SpongeBob episode, isn't it? Like, once upon a time, there was an ugly duckling that was so ugly everybody died at the end. Oh, it's just once upon a time there was a Primate that was so angry everything died. The end.
And just it retroactively kind of ruins Primeape, just in the sense of lore. Because it's always said that Primeape is, always angry, nearly all of the time. But it gets peace in death. And that's like multiple Pokedex entries talk about at least it gets to be at peace when it dies. And then they introduced an evolution where no, it doesn't ever get to live in peace.
It's a Pokemon that all it wants to do is... The thing is that all it wants to do is fight, so, at least you're letting it's happy.
It's living out its dream, right?
It finds release in battle.
Yeah. But I love the idea of, this Pokemon finally gets to be at peace when it dies, and what do you give it as an evolution? Fuck it can never die.
Like Pokemon, too angry to die. I'll tell you what, like, rather than talking about Ash's Pokemon for a sec, let's take a detour. What's your favourite Team Rocket Pokemon? Because I always like that Team Rocket always got lumbered with like a loser Pokemon no one wanted.
Yeah.
For like each season. Like, they end up with like the Wobbuffet and the...
Wobbuffet's probably my favourite, but I do like the gimmick of Victory Bell just eating James all the time.
Every single time. And I always loved as well, I'd say like every 15 episodes or so, Team Rocket would get an episode where one of their Pokemon actually does something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really like the Jessie episode where she's just talking about how, man, my Arbok is fucking shit. And my Arbok is so wank, it doesn't do anything, but she refused to get rid of it. And I think they have an episode where they fight someone who's not Ash.
Mm.
And she absolutely stomps ass with it because obviously, okay, we're getting our ass beat by 4 people on the reg. My Arbok's super strong.
Yeah, and they always talk about the fact that Pikachu is this ultra strong Pikachu, right?
Yeah.
And just presumably the translation is similar to in game it would be a Pokemon with like perfect IVs.
Yeah. And it's always hilarious that they talk about, oh, Pikachu's super rare, it's the only one in the world when they've got a talking Pokemon. They've got the only talking Pokemon in existence on their team.
I mean, to be fair, I'm just going through the list, and
okay.
Gen 6 in the X, Y, and Z season, Ash goes pretty meta because his 4 Pokemon in his party. He says that he released Ash Greninja and Goodra, and then on hand he's got Noivern, Talonflame, Hawlucha, and Pikachu.
That's a strong team.
Apart from being a bit too focused on flying, it's just, yeah, this was the one where Ash just stopped fucking about and stopped using first stage Pokemon.
It's like, fuck it, let's go, Hawlucha.
There's a clear just difference of all of a sudden.
In power scale.
Fuck it, I'm not using like Pignite anymore. Pignite can piss off, it's not going to evolve. It refuses to evolve, and then apparently in a low, the only Pokemon he consistently keeps on hand is Pikachu.
That's when they were trying to like, actually get like a new Pokemon every couple episodes to show them off, right? Is that where Z-moves were introduced?
Yes, it will be.
So I have to give like shout outs to that simply because that's the season where Pikachu throws a Kamehameha.
Yeah.
Right? Well, Ash does it as well. Like the Z move activation move is like basically a Kamehameha, and the Pikachu does that. It's like, there we go.
Well, it says in the Pokemon Journeys and in Sun and Moon that one of his Pokemon that's with Professor Kukui and Burnett / in rotation, one of them's Incineroar, so does he really need any other Pokemon?
He's got the perfect Pokemon. Our Lord and Savior. Just T-posing Incineroar.
Just literally the most used Pokemon like ever.
It might be one of the best Pokemon
introduced. I think it's technically got like the most usage or the highest like usage in terms of winning teams or something ever in Pokemon, and it's from 3 gens ago.
For like reasons that are too boring and complex to get into now, but all the summation of it is Incineroar, there's an argument to be made, it might be the best Pokemon ever.
Yeah, and I guess that is a good way to segue before we take our break into just my plug for the week.
Which is?
Well, I have started getting back into competitive Pokemon after a few months of taking it a bit lightly because they just like use all the bullshit legendaries.
Hell yeah, I love
I'm not as interested in that. What I'm interested in is using Incineroar and other Pokemon.
And your favourites?
My favourites, and like currently I'm in the middle of building just a food team.
Okay, what's on your food team?
I'm not going to give it all away, but I'm making an Alchemy.
Alchemy is such a good Pokemon.
I think I'm going to use a Diplin in there. I've got to, of course, use Darkspun because it's a sausage dog. How could I not use a sausage dog on my team?
Yeah, it's like a sausage dog that's also a brioche, which means you know it smells real good.
It's a pretzel sausage dog. It's, oh my god.
Wet dog smell is awful, but I bet pretzel dog smell is fucking incredible.
Especially
a dog on the fire. When your dog imagine your dog kills people on the fire and it sounds like a cinnamon bun. But
that's the thing, its ability as well is well-baked body. So when you hit it with a fire move, it must just smell immaculate.
Just this immaculate well-baked body.
But there are a few others that I am considering as well. But yeah, we had like a few battles last week.
Yes.
Where just, all of a sudden it felt fun again to play.
Yeah, like Pokemon is fun again, and that's really, Reg H, is it?
Yes.
Which allows you to use a wider, more diverse pool of Pokemon.
Well, actually, it doesn't. It lets... Technically, it bans a bunch of powerful Pokemon, which just means that more of the like Pokemon that were useless for the last few months are now viable again.
Yeah. So
because
technically, yeah.
put Pokemon under a ban hammer because they were too strong, like legendaries and Paradox Pokemon and stuff. So if you want to come and watch me, you know, try and figure out some more teams of fun Pokemon using all my favorites and that, and I've been training up all of the shinies that I've got just so that I can be like, hey, I've got
it's a
shinies.
flex.
It's like it
That's
takes
it, yeah.
some of the decision making out for me of like what Pokemon I'm going to train. It's like I've got these shinies that are just sitting there. Let's train them.
Exactly. So if you want to watch Lucas play Pokemon, or even play Pokemon against Lucas, you can do so at.
Well, they can find me streaming on Thursday, about 10 p.m. UK time. That I normally start my streams roughly. And yeah, so tomorrow, like this being like, you know, Wednesday the 18th at the moment.
18th.
Tomorrow, when Thursday the 19th, I'll be streaming some competitive Pokemon stuff. You can come and challenge me to a battle. You can watch me battle other people online and stuff, and get to use a bunch of my favorite Pokemon to like make actual decent fun teams rather than being like, I guess I'm just gonna use like Kyogre for 3 months or Lunala for 3 months or something.
It's never a good time, right?
It isn't, because this means I get to more legitimately have a chance of making Charger Bug work.
I think Chargebot can make it. It's going to go all the way. Because it is cute.
That's been my gimmick Pokemon for quite a while now, of just trying to make a team work with a Charger Bug on it.
Then it's like, what does Chargebot look like? I happen to have, which is still not collected yet, Lucas, is a gift I got for you, which is Radiant Charger Bug. It's like, yeah. A Radiant Charger Bug card that I got for Lucas that I'll be giving him next time I see each other in person.
Yeah, the way to describe it, I guess, would be, think of like a Pokemon that you might be more familiar with if you're more our age, of like a Metapod or a Kakuna, where it's a bug that goes into a cocoon form and then comes out the other side as like a Butterfree or something.
It's the mid-stage evolution.
The middle stage cocoon form, but the cocoon is an adorable tiny electric bus.
It's just Cube. It's an adapter. It's like a universal adapter you'd use. And the thing is, Lucas, it's right there in front of me, next to my favourite bug Pokemon, which is Shedinja. Which annoyingly is not viable. He's not in the games at the moment, so I can't have a Shedinja on my team.
I was going to say you could make it viable, but yeah, it's one of those Pokemon that's not currently in the game, right?
Also, I just nudged my my camera, so now back. So that's what you'll be doing.
Yeah.
Battling people with the Charger Bug. The book. Is he on your food team? Is it Sugar Cube?
He's not on the. He's not
Salt
food.
Shaker.
He's not food.
You can say it's a Salt Shaker or Sugar Cube.
No, because there is enough Pokemon that are legitimately actual food
fair,
that I cannot justify putting him on my food team. He's good at eating food. He has got Bug Bite, but
nibbling those berries.
Yeah, he's stealing people's berries away. I just love that moment where, like, oh well, I know that Incineroar's likely to have a citrus berry. Charge a Bug, use Bug Bite, and eat that Incineroar's berry. Get your revenge.
It's like Get Him Boy.
But yes, I guess we can take a quick break for a moment. I just
problem.
need to run the toilet and that, and by a couple of commenters' requests, I'm gonna put some music on in the background so people know we're taking a break. And Carl, can you guess what song?
Theme song.
No.
Song.
Can you guess what copyright-free song we're using?
Like just music from Pokemon.
Copyright-free, Carl.
Well, music from Pokemon the games.
No, that's not copyright-free. They're just not very good at putting the ban hammer on it.
Okay, what is it then?
Gotta know what song it is, Carl. Come on.
Is it Two Finger Johnny?
Of course, it's Two Finger Johnny.
That's my song. You can't nick my song.
That's a couple of people requested it. So I was like, you know what? I'm stealing that from you, Carl.
Every now and again, like I think H Bomber Guy used it in one of his videos, and once I was watching one of his videos, I went, he stole my bit, and then I realised, no, wait, I don't own this song.
Yeah, Kevin MacLeod that's just a Kevin MacLeod song, Carl.
I haven't heard anybody else use that one because it's so people don't know the original Thack Fiend theme. That's still used in videos. Two Finger Johnny. I picked that one because it was the most obnoxious one. It just sounds so bad. I went, that's what I want as my background music. I want to annoy people, and it became like a thing.
So I'm stealing that joke over from Fat Fiend.
How are you nicking my bit?
Well, I was going to use just the background music that we use for the Wiki Weekends videos and stuff, but a lot of it goes into like more mellow music where you can't really hear it very much.
You should put Cynthia's themes. Everyone thought they had to like run really fucking fast.
So we'll just take a few minute break, and you get to listen to Two Finger Johnny on loop, and Carl's gonna get real mad.
I can't believe you're nicking my bit. You're nicking my bit.
I only nicked it because people asked me to nick it.
We're trying so hard to differentiate Wiki Weekends and Fact Fiend as their own individual things. You can't blur the lines again, Lucas.
Carl, you're on both of them. We're blurring the lines enough as it is.
Okay, I'm gonna go get myself a cup of tea.
And I hope for like the people that did want music, I hope that was even worse than silence. Just
Well,
duh.
As I said, I specifically picked that theme as background music for Fact Fiend because specifically I said, "Oh, it's annoying." Because here's the thing about like any success I had with Fact Fiend was entirely in spite of me trying my damnedest to not do the standard YouTuber things. Like, I intentionally picked annoying background music. I made sure the loop, because the loop that I've used in every Fact Fiend video ever, it's not even a good loop. It cuts abruptly and starts again. I didn't even do it properly, so it like melds into itself. That's how, and I also as well have remixes of that because I've got a bunch of musicians a few years ago to do remixes. So if you want those for the break music, I can send them to you. I've got like an 8-bit remix and a pop punk remix. I just never used them because I got them and then like YouTube gaming kind of died, so I never had an excuse to use them in videos.
Maybe that's a good way to differentiate them then.
But I still own them. I can't believe you nicked my bit, man. You nicked my bit.
Again, I know that just obviously there's a big crossover of viewers, so obviously like people just they like the melding.
Lean into
the
it,
synergy. Right? It's like, well,
if you know what? When you call it synergy, I'm all right with it because that's a business word, and that makes me feel smart.
Word. Yeah,
makes me feel smart.
And Carl, speaking of being smart, have you got anything to plug?
The other thing I plug every week is my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Karlswood. Unsure when or if I'll be streaming this week because I am out Friday evening. And last couple of times I've been out on a Friday evening, I've got in been way too pissed and only streamed for like an hour. And I think like an hour and I just go, you know what? I'm too pissed. I'm gonna order a pizza and turn off the stream, which is probably funny once, but not multiple times.
Not consistently, yeah.
I will play it by ear, whether or not I'll be streaming this week. But if I am, I'll be live there, and it'll be at twitch.tv/Karlswood, linked below, and I'll be playing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, mostly as an excuse to just like interact with chat, because the time I stream normally for the past couple of months has coincided with the release of a new Fact Fiend video, which is back. Like speaking of Fact Fiend, it's back. In a limited capacity, largely to promote the work of myself and my friends, which includes Lucas and this. This channel, this second new channel that we've tried really hard to differentiate from Fact Fiend.
I know, and like Ronan chat mentioned, just it'd be nice to have a place in the Discord for Fact Fiend discussion, and we originally kind of did have a channel to discuss other things that we were working on and stuff, but just A, it never got used, and B, we just decided, well, it's probably better to not have that there anyway, to again just have a bit more of a differentiation, playing a Two Finger Johnny in the break where we're gonna cut out the break anyway and stuff, that's one thing, but just it's one of those things of yeah, it's a little nod, but to have an entire dedicated thing to be talking about something that isn't our stuff in our Discord, is a bit different.
My approach to it is that I feel it will be kind of a dick move to you to, in our joint project that we've split 50-50 down the middle, to have a special part or of a bit of our Discord that's dedicated to talking about the work we've both worked on, carved out specifically to talk about one of my projects. Just feels a little insulting.
Add a segment where we just talk about my competitive Pokemon.
Why not? Go for it.
No, I'm joking.
Also, as well, it's just hey, I did it for 7 years. I'm happy to do it again, but I don't want to talk about it. That's why I do one stream per week where I do Fact Fiend Q&A, and then rest of the time I just don't interact with. I don't read the comments. I don't check the behind the scenes. I don't look at the analytics. I just know that I release a video, it gets a couple thousand views, and I link to whatever the person in the video I'm working with in that moment wants me to link to. In the case of the Wiki Weekends, in the case of others, It'll be their own projects.
Whatever their projects are, yeah. But yeah, I guess just mentioning like breaks and things like that. Just remember that like our ad-free version of this that's like cleaned up and has the break screen put out and stuff, and it's available on the members only playlist.
Yeah, we're also not wearing shirts in that version. It's like too hot. It's too hot for YouTube. Remember that we talked about that
vaguely.
We said like we should start doing the thing of like too hot for YouTube.
Oh god, no.
Like putting in clips of like naked ladies into videos randomly, so we can just say, oh, this version of the video is too hot for YouTube, and all it has in the background is the one where it tits out for 90% of it for no reason.
Oh, but yeah, of course there is that, and I understand that that's not a thing that people mostly want to do, but it's something I've got to mention every now and then. We've got to do our jobs.
I thought you meant like have tits in the background of the videos. Yes. I might start doing that with like the second version of the video, just me upload, because there's no reason I can't.
And the thing is, I trust you enough where I don't normally scrub through every single video. So if you just started like randomly adding women background, it's like, god damn.
You can say you don't watch my content, it's fine.
I mean, like, sometimes I'll watch the videos, but I'm in the video having the discussion already.
That's it, you were there, right?
I was half of that video. It's like, great.
That is a question we get asked, right? Of like, oh, do you not watch like your own videos? Like, I was there. I was there the first time. I don't want to see it again.
Like, I've been watching some the Fat Fiend videos that like you make that don't have me in them, but a lot of me, like a lot of those videos still have me in them.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I was there. You're more looking and go, oh, we had that conversation 5 weeks ago. We finally got it edited up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the two things I'd plug. Keep it simple.
I hope that you've kept it simple with your wiki. So what have you brought?
Well, I've changed my wiki because I know I told you what it was going to be, but then I thought when I was looking through my list of wiki suggestions and ideas, which people can do, they can make suggestions, but we might not always take them. I thought, well, since you've talked about anime, I thought I'd pick an anime adjacent topic from my big list of potential topics to discuss. And this one is one we can't really make into a weekend video because there's no clips of it. Because the thing we're going to talk about doesn't exist yet. I'm going to give you a clue, Lucas. It is possibly one of the most infamous, not famous, infamous movies trapped in development hell, and it's an adaptation
of
a popular. It's you got it right away, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even say the word anime, and you knew. We are talking about Akira, the planned film that is supposedly still in development as we speak.
Yeah, like I know we've mentioned it before on that one of like, oh yeah, God, they were trying to make an Akira movie. Like, why?
Yes. And I thought, because you talked about a popular anime that was successful and ran for many seasons, let's talk about an anime adjacent project that's not been so successful for good reason.
Yeah, and to clarify, like when we say all videos, like Karl edits the videos he hosts, I edit the videos I host, and then we like I just make the thumbnails for everyone, but like yeah, for the most part, it's pretty much just I do my ones, Karl does his. So other than recording the discussion, we have separate videos that we work on, but I don't then go and double check Karl's videos by going and watching to make sure he's like edited them okay or something.
Yeah, because we trust each other. Because that's what being in a business partnership is of. Hey, I trust Lucas to do the things he said he'd do. He trusts me to do the things I said I'd do. And if I can't, or he can't, we'll talk to each other about it. So I trust that Lucas will, for example, put a thumbnail on my video and have it uploaded when it needs to go up. He trusts me to have a video ready for him to attach a thumbnail to and upload and then schedule for the channel.
Yeah, and when Karl's sitting there going, well, the YouTube video is meant to be out in half an hour and Lucas hasn't put a thumbnail on it yet. It's just, well, I'm going to trust that he will.
Yeah, he's probably just going to do it 5 minutes before it goes live because he's probably on his computer right now. Either way.
It's generally, now that we're doing members videos, I'm not allowed to schedule members videos, so I have to be on the YouTube studio about the time those videos go live now.
Wild, right? You can't schedule a feature that's supposed to add functionality and it's something you want to sell people as a bonus. Like, this will make the content better, and you can't even schedule content.
It's like, no, I've got to go. Even if I have to just do it on my phone and set it live, I've still got to actively do it at the right time rather than just scheduling it for when it goes out.
Yeah, and speaking of schedule, there is no planned release date for the Akira planned film. So here we have. I'm just going to go through the wiki now. Akira is a proposed American cyberpunk action film based on the Japanese manga of the same name by Katsuhiro Otomo, and was set to be the second film adaptation following the 1988 anime version, which many consider to be like the definitive anime. Like Joe, they talk about as like these seminal pieces of artwork of like, okay, movies. What do you consider to be like? If you're gonna an alien came to Earth, it's like, what movie should they watch? You say, I believe it's Citizen Kane's the one. Like, you know, is the common answer, but then Vertigo is like the actual answer that people say.
I think
Like
the real answer should be Alien.
Or Jurassic Park.
Show 'em what we really think of them.
But, you know, and when it comes to anime, it's like, what is, if you're going to show someone an anime, what do you show? You show them Akira. And this is my box set of Akira. It's 2 discs. It includes the movie and the director's cut and a bunch of extras material. Sadly, it's just on DVD. I need to update this.
I honestly think that based on the shape, you'd pull the VHS out.
You know what? It could be. It might as well be how old it is, because the quality's not great. And at some point, I do need to update to the Blu-ray version, which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
It costs like 30 quid, and I've just not been in the mood to watch Akira in a while. Like, I try and rewatch it every year, and I rewatched it, I think, like, to be honest, I'm due for another rewatch. Maybe I'll buy a Blu-ray for it soon so I can do my rewatch. But yeah, I have my DVD copy, which has like the special features and stuff in there. And like, it just says on the front of the box, no Akira, no Matrix. It's that important. That's how influential this movie is. And it's so influential that Hollywood has spent decades trying and failing to adapt it.
And I don't actually 100% know whether it's Akira or Akira, but like, we're just going to say depends. Akira, right?
Yeah, Akira is like the Western pronunciation. If you wanted to be like that guy, you got Akira. So that guy who always pronounces like all the Japanese words with the Japanese accent, which my ex was Japanese, and she told me that like, that's just cringy. It's like, we know what you mean.
Yeah, it's
there are
the
sounds
same
that
energy of the people that are like, no, it's croissant.
Yeah.
Like that classic,
it's not croissant, it's croissant. It's like, it's not shut up, it's fuck off. But you know what I meant. But so the film was written by Taika Waititi. So Taika Waititi has written an adaptation of Akira. So I'm going to do both pronunciations now because it's fun. Do you know what Akira's fun to say? Warner Bros. Pictures, which has held the rights to the live-action adaptation of the manga since 2002, 22 years, has repeatedly struggled to get production off the ground over various concerns, which we'll of course get to, leaving the project in development hell.
And in 2017, sorry, the 2002, what are the odds that lines up with just shit? The Matrix did well. Get the rights to Akira. Yeah.
It says it on the front of this box, right?
Well,
and I think that's really funny because Akira, still groundbreaking film. Mm-hmm. The Matrix, not so much, because The Matrix was ruined by its sequels. I feel like The Matrix is still a good movie in its own right, but its legacy is kind of tarnished by how bad the 3 sequels are.
Well, Carl, I did forget that, speaking of The Matrix, I had another, whatever the hell we called the segment last time, that might appear every now and then, of, did you know the fun fact?
Fun fact Carl might not know. We already ripped off the fact theme. You might as well tell some facts. What is this more like, fact?
Can we test Carl about the fact?
Okay, what's the fact about? Presumably The Matrix, that's what's inspired your mind.
Yeah, so it is about The Matrix, and I'm just double checking like via Google. Like,
okay.
So, do you know where like the inspiration for the code in The Matrix comes? Do you know like where the design comes from?
The Matrix like letters and stuff, like the sinking green letters.
Mm-hmm.
I'd assumed it'd have been like an old computer thing. Or maybe
no,
like a waterfall. Like, do you know those like waterfall features? I don't actually know this
But,
one. This
like,
is an educated guess.
the actual text that is shown as the Matrix code, it is sushi recipes from a cookbook.
Oh, yeah, it's the guy who did it. It's like they made the cipher language, and then they had to like lorem ipsum it, right?
Mm-hmm. So just the code that you see falling down is actually just, obviously it might not be translated like literally the
One to
cookbook
one.
just copy pasted. It might not be quite that, but
lorem ipsum, yeah, it's just
all of the different text that you see falling down as the Matrix code is actually just a sushi recipe, like bunch of different sushi recipes scrambled about.
I misunderstood your question. I thought you meant what inspired the look of it, not what the text was actually said.
Yeah, I was trying to word it in a certain way, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one.
One that I found out recently that I was like, I wonder whether Karl can remember that one.
No, like it's news to me, but it's one of the things where it's that dickish thing, like, I've heard that talked about, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you off the top of my head if you asked me.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I know most of these are probably something that you've heard in the past, but like, do you remember them?
Which I didn't for that one. And yeah, like I say, the Matrix has kind of aged a little poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has 3 sequels that suck. Whereas Akira, it's got the manga, groundbreaking, still relevant to this day, and then and the anime, which came out nigh on 40 fucking years ago, and it still holds up.
It does, and I haven't watched. Well, I mean, I say it does. Like, I've heard it still holds up. I haven't watched it in about 10 years, but it held up then at least.
Just animation-wise, it holds up because it was all hand-drawn.
And yeah, just soon to be followed by the timeless masterpiece that is Taika Waititi's version, it seems.
Well, we will see, because in 2017, Waititi was announced to direct and co-write, with production to start in 2019 and a scheduled release of 2021. However, just prior to production, Waititi left the project to direct Thor: Love and Thunder. So did we miss a bullet there? Like, did we dodge an entire firing squad? It's not dodging a bullet, is it? It's like you dodged the nuclear missile.
That's the thing, we've talked about Thor: Love and Thunder before, of just Taika Waititi has clearly got good ideas, but needs just a strict editor.
He needs that person, like the meme of the cat that's like, stop posting. He needs that person. And seemingly after the success of Ragnarok, no one was there to tell him that, okay, don't have the main character's love interest die of cancer in the same movie where you've got screaming meme goats.
Yeah,
no one could tell him that.
It seems like he just got the free pass after Ragnarok, right?
Yes, and it mentions here that this delayed the project indefinitely. However, in April 2023, Waititi stated that he does aim to begin working on the film again after completing his upcoming unnamed Star Wars film. Because apparently just everyone's working on a Star Wars movie now.
Yep.
Then we have here just the basic premise of Akira for anyone unfamiliar. A secret military project endangers Neo-Tokyo when it turns a biker gang member into a rampaging psychopath that only 2 teenagers and a group of psychics can stop. Do you know what? It's a very classic, simple story of a future biker who gets turned into a rampaging psychic monster.
Oh, okay? Sorry about that. I tried to mute my mic before I sneezed. It snuck up
I thought you were throwing up.
No, I was trying to sneeze but also mute my mic, and I didn't get to mute it. I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah, it's fine. But it's that thing, right? So it's your classic like tale. We've seen it 1,000 times before, right? Of just biker gets turned into rampaging psychic monster.
Of course, yeah.
And gets stopped by the government. Yeah, it's classic. Yeah, because all the way back, like I remember like in Jack and the Beanstalk when he gets on his cybercycle. And just like Akira power slides towards the giant and like explodes him with his mind.
Well, that's what the Rosebud was in Citizen Kane, right? Just the Akira slide.
Oh man, can you imagine if like on the sled he just Akira slided on the sled? Okay, what movie would you want to put the Akira slide in, regardless of how little it makes sense?
And why is it?
I mentioned Jaws. I want the shark to do the Akira slide.
I was gonna say the Santa Claus.
Oh, that could be good. On the sled.
On the sled, doing like Santa sled Akira slide.
Oh man, it's so iconic, right?
It's so good.
Like, it's been ripped off in everything. And do you think in the American version, I bet Taika Waititi feels like I feel he's got a little bit of an ego, being given like the reins to like these big Marvel tentpole movies and a Star Wars project where he's got carte blanche. I bet he tried to top the Akira slide.
Mm.
This reminds me of, are you familiar with the film Old Boy? That's the Korean film. If you're not familiar, you probably know about the hammer hallway fight.
Yeah, I watched Old Boy back in high school, but I can't,
Everyone did,
like,
yeah.
there's everyone did our age, but yeah, like there's also the terrible version of Old Boy, right?
Yes. So Old Boy, the Korean film, highly recommended. But there's the most iconic part is a one-shot hallway fight scene where just the main character beats like 40 guys to death with a claw hammer. It's done in one take. It is like every choreographer worth their salt holds this up as like the gold standard of choreography. Of like, this is what the art form is meant to be.
I believe many people have cited it, but I believe the like pretty iconic Daredevil hallway fight, they were like, yeah, we wanted to do something like Old Boy.
Yeah, and that's why in every season of Daredevil they have another one-shot fight scene. And even though we've got ones longer than the Old Boy fight scene, we always, like, when you're making a piece of content like this, you're competing for second place because it's always going to be what's the best one-shot fight scene that isn't the Old Boy corridor fight. And when they remade the American version and Spike Lee directed it with Josh Brolin as the main character, Spike Lee was like, when he was asking about, he was asked, well, this is the most iconic thing in the film, right? Like, this has transcended like the film itself to become just this moment that everyone points to as, have you seen the Old Boy like corridor fight? Spike Lee's like, yeah, we've got an idea that's going to make it better, and he just sets it in a big wide corridor, and he doesn't even do it in one shot. He couldn't even do it in one shot, and it's like, Spike Lee, because he thought he was better than the film.
And you're not.
No,
you're just not.
You're not. And I reckon like Taika Waititi, you're probably like, you're gonna put the Akira slide. We've got a moment that's better than the Akira slide. It's not going to be better than the Akira slide because that's the original.
It's the Akira slide, but there's just a meme goat on the front of the bicycle screaming. Oh, God.
Yeah. So over the production. Earlier attempts. In the 1990s, following the release of the 1988 anime film, Sony Pictures Entertainment obtained the rights to the Akira manga series with the intent of creating a live-action adaptation. The project was ultimately cancelled due to budgetary concerns, because it would be a very expensive movie to make. Like, it was expensive to animate.
Yeah, trying to recreate Neo Tokyo and like Neo Tokyo, but also that like grimy sense of Neo Tokyo, right? That proper cyberpunk of like everything appears bright and fancy and neon, but it's actually just super grim.
Which I reckon they could do because Blade Runner still looks fantastic.
Yeah,
and Blade Runner has that like cyberpunk aesthetic down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's more just like the effects. I feel like the effects and the stunts would cost a fucking fortune. And then like when Kaneda turns into like the fucking, well, it's not Kaneda turns into the monster, but like, when they turn into the giant fucking Akira monster, that would be impossible to realize in live action. It just would look terrible.
That's the thing. It kind of reminds me of the idea of, trying to adapt something as well. Like another bunch of movies that I wouldn't want to try to do is just any Ghibli movie where I'm like, how could you ever take that art and make it look better by making it realistic?
It's also, as well, it's something where you are only ever going to be compared to the original.
Yeah.
And one of the things it mentions in this list here about the production is that in 2002, Warner Bros. Acquired the rights. So Sony Pictures had the rights, they didn't do anything with it. In 2002, Warner Bros. Acquired the rights to a live-action remake of Akira as a 7-figure deal. So that's why this thing, regardless of how much it's going to be a mess, that's why it'll get made. They spent over $1 million to acquire the rights to this thing.
I don't know. In terms of how much budget goes into movies,
that's probably not a lot.
Spending $1 million or $2 on the rights doesn't sound that expensive, but it might be.
Yeah, and it's the thing of, like, to acquire the rights to one of the most famous pieces of animated media ever created, it's probably a pretty good deal to have, like, exclusive worldwide rights to adapt it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But still, this is probably why it'll never stop being worked on, because the moment they lose, they don't work on it, because it's how usually these deals work. Of the moment you're not actively working on a project, the rights will revert back to the original rights holder and they can sell them again. That's what happened with, like, the Foxverse. Of like Fox just made a new X-Men movie every 2 years to keep the rights to the X-Men.
Well, it's similar to Sony with Spider-Man, right?
With Spider-Man, yeah.
They had to keep cranking out Spider-Man movies, otherwise they lose Spider-Man.
Yep, and it mentions here that it has had a troubled development with 5 different directors and 10 different writers attached over more than 2 decades of pre-production. IGN concluded that the long-term troubles with producing the live-action film primarily come from 2 things. First, there has been a fear of whitewashing or race bending, which is not a fear, it's what they did, because we'll get to the potential casting choice in a moment. Casting American or other Western actors in lieu of Japanese ones, which has frequently come to light when such actors have been reported as being under consideration for said roles. Secondly, Akira itself is not considered a story that is easy to relocate outside Japan due to the heavy influence of the original story of Japan's role in World War II, including the atomic bombings of Japan and Unit 731. It's like, no, the Japanese science division that were doing live experiments on people, which is what happens to Tetsuo.
And that's why would you even consider taking it outside of Japan? You don't need to do that, even if you're
that's the thing as well.
Production.
That's what makes it fascinating, because I would love to be a fly on the wall of these discussions of when they were talking about, okay, so we've got the rights to Akira, this famous piece of Japanese media set in the far distant future of Neo Tokyo. First of all, how do we relocate the idea to America? And so why does it need to be in America? The original is in Japan. The story is in Japan. But we want to put white people in it. It's like, but it's what's wrong with putting oh, you're a bit racist and you don't think people will watch a movie with Japanese people in it, even though the original anime has transcended. But its original like Japanese like localization to become one of the most famous pieces of media in existence.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't like this version, but it still does make me question why they're okay sometimes with whitewashing a movie but keeping it set in Asia, but then other times are like, well, that would be too far.
I think it's just this film is so it's like, like when they make Godzilla movies, they always have to bring in some Japanese dude and make him say Godzilla because they know.
Yeah,
they know. Like, you've got to get at least one Japanese guy say Godzilla in a Japanese accent, or it's not a Godzilla movie. They always try, right? But with this, it's so Japanese, there's not really any way to whitewash it. But Hollywood will try. And it mentions here that attempts to make it more westernized in order to draw American audiences. That's the thing. Hey, here's a fun fact about stories. People can empathize with stories involving characters who don't, look like them. Because ultimately, it's about whether the character has an interesting, compelling narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I have watched many movies starring characters who go to space. I've never been to space, but I can still empathize with their situation. Annoyingly, most of those characters end up being dudes, but if the character wasn't a dude, or wasn't a white dude, I'd still be able to watch and enjoy that movie, as long as the acting was good and the story was good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact it even says that, right, of like, oh, we need to draw an American audience. Do you not think how little faith they have?
And as well, you know what's better than an American audience? A worldwide audience.
Oh, yeah. These attempts have included potentially using the September 11th attacks as part of the establishing events instead of the atomic bombings, which would require fundamental changes to the story, which frequently draws criticism. Shortly after Warner Bros. Acquired the rights, Stephen Norrington was slated to direct, with James Robinson writing the screenplay and Dan Lin producing. Planned changes to the film included setting it in Chicago, as well as making Kaneda and Tetsuo brothers, even though the whole point of the original is that they're not blood relatives, but they act like brothers. Do you know that's that thing like blood is thicker than water?
No, but called Making Brothers, it's easier
Making
to understand.
Brothers. Yep. The idea of strong male bonds.
Friends looking out for each other.
The fact the writer doesn't understand having a close friend.
Also, I will not pretend like going on a chat. Just Big Hero 6 is great. San Francisco is great. That's not so much a thing of, oh, we need to try and just set this thing in America. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we blended these two cool things?
That's a homage film. It's a film homaging Japanese and Western media and blending them into to create an original product. This is a piece of media that is very heavily and critically Japanese.
And setting it in Chicago.
It's like if you're just going to make a film set in Japan, why even bother buying the rights to Akira?
Yeah,
If you're just going to change everything about it, just make biker movie.
That's what always confuses me. Is I get that to an extent, a name is recognizable and an IP is recognizable, but if you're gonna take everything that made it unique and strip it away, what was the point in the first place?
Also, as well, it's like one of those weird, like bits like cognitive dissonance that Hollywood is simultaneously able to argue and convince itself that the film will not do well if we don't have American actors, but we want to sell the movie on the Akira brand name.
Mm-hmm.
So they think the brand name is strong enough to carry and attract people to the audience, attract the audience to watch the film, but they don't think the characters in it are.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's such a weird thing, like, and Hollywood keeps doing it.
Same with Ghost in the Shell, Death Note, things like that. We see it all the time. We think this story and this IP is really important to the point where we need to buy the rights to it, but also we're going to massacre it at the same time because no one wants to see it. It's like, well, which one is it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, we don't want to put Japanese people in this piece of Japanese. Then don't fucking buy the rights. Make something. You'd save money. We mentioned here that this particular version of the adaptation was shelved following the commercial failure of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which Norrington and Robinson also collaborated on. And it's like, the movie that Sean Connery appeared in and went, fuck this, I'm not being an actor anymore.
Wasn't it that he came out of retirement for that movie?
Do you know what? That's an episode for
and then re-retired after that movie.
Yeah. That's another Wiki Weeks. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's pretty good, but they're looking back on it as like, it's camp value. No, it's good as a camp film, but the problem is people can't. It's like the prequel trilogy of Star Wars problem of people can't differentiate between enjoying something for its camp value and it having legitimate aesthetic quality. Like, the film is fun to watch as like, I'm gonna have a beer and shit on it. It's not a good film, but people, they kind of like misconstrue this. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Later on, director Rory Robinson was hired in 2006, planning to split Akira across 2 films, with the first to be completed and released in 2009. Producer Andrew Lazar specified that the 2 movies would each cover 3 volumes of the 6-volume manga. Writer Gary Whitta had been told that Otomo had instructed those working on the film, basically, not to be afraid to change things. He wanted to see an original and different interpretation, not just a straight-up remake, which is cool. Of, you know, people involved with the original being like, hey, we want you to change stuff. But the problem is that they probably mean like, we don't change how you interpret the story. Like, we don't want you to just do a shot-for-shot remake of, like, we don't want to just see scenes from the manga recreated in live action. Put your spin on it. Like, if you're going to build a live action version of this universe, let us see more of that universe.
Yeah,
I feel like quotes like this always get taken out of context.
Right?
Yeah, I always feel like quotes like this get taken out of context of like, it's not that okay, go in and change the characters' names and give them different motivations. It's just live action is a different medium. Take advantage of that medium. It's like when people praise Zack Snyder's Superman movies and like, look at how he's basically recreated a frame from one of the comic books. Like, but that's a comic book. This is a live action movie. How is he taking advantage of the medium to tell an interesting story or do something different than what the comic books did? He's just recreated a visual.
And he's very good at doing that, but why does it add to the movie when you could just experience that by reading the book?
Yes, and he mentions that Whitta's take on the story would have recentered the story to New York City after the destructive Akira incident destroys Manhattan. The US economy collapses out of desperation. The government leases the now vacant land to Japan, which has become an economic powerhouse and is struggling with overpopulation. This city of Japanese citizens built on the formerly American land becomes New Tokyo. What a convoluted way to create Neo Tokyo when they could just set it in fucking Japan. Like, they're the hoops they'll jump to.
Yeah.
Still set in America. Set it in fucking Japan.
Just be able to hire white actors.
Yeah.
And I don't know what element of that. Is that just, well, the writers and the director wants to put it in Neo Tokyo, but there's producers breathing down their neck of like,
we don't
you
know.
Can't do it. Yeah.
We'll likely never know. But the fact, think about how many like leaps of logic had to be made there to establish that. And it mentions here that this would have allowed them to use a mixture of Western and Asian cultures and actors to avoid concerns they'd be whitewashing the project. It's like I said, that would just let them have an inbuilt excuse to put white people in it.
Well, it'd be so much easier to just
set it in Japan.
hire East Asian actors and put it in Neo Tokyo, and it just be Tokyo.
Yep. It's like they have to the amount of reaching they're having to do to justify having a white person. So I think Michael Fassbender was in talks for a while. Anyway, Robinson left the project in 2009, replaced as director by Albert Hughes. They use Witter's original script with additional rewrites by Mark Ferguson, Hawk Otsby, Albert Torres, and Steve Close, with plans to aim for a PG-13 rating. Keep in mind, Akira has one of the most brutal fucking death scenes in any piece of media, where someone gets crushed by concrete. And it's the most brutal shit ever.
And again, it just feels like another thing where it's, why are you adapting this brutal thing to then tone it all the way down so that you can get more people to watch it? Just make something new.
And again, if you wanted to change it like that, you could. That's the thing, if you want to tell a different version or a more sanitized version of story, but I'd argue Akira with the direct influences being atomic bombings and the horrible live human experimentation that a secretive Japanese science unit engaged in World War II, there's not really a way to tell a PG-13 version of that story.
And I also think that it's not just gratuitous violence. I feel like
it has a purpose.
The hyper-violence and grossness in that movie adds to that movie and to that story because it's telling such a dark tale.
Yeah, and it's a character as well that you really like. And you think, oh, they're going to be okay, right? Nope. Anyway, in 2011, versions of the Akira script began to surface online. In February, selections from an older draft of the screenplay were sent to casting agencies and then later circulate online, providing glimpses at other changes the adaptation was making. The setting of Neo Manhattan rather than Neo Tokyo, Kaneda and Tetsuo as siblings rather than friends, and an increased focus on the gang's use of trafficking drugs. A full script from a different draft of the casting sheets leaked online later that year. Though it was unclear precisely which of the, at that point, 6 screenwriters had produced it. Because there's one thing I always know, Lucas, is they say that a lot of cooks in the kitchen is a surefire way for success.
It is, yeah. Just 6 writers. It's like, oh no.
And he mentions here that this script was heavily criticised for deviating far more from the original source material than anything seen so far. Changes included making Kaneda and Tetsuo in their early 30s so they could cast an established famous actor, and they would no longer be bikers. Lucas, what's the one thing from Akira everybody fucking knows?
It might be, maybe, some kind of bike slide, maybe.
Let's not make them, but as well it'd be hot rods, right? It'd be like a muscle car.
Oh, don't even say that. Oh.
And Akira was a murderous evil child comparable to a horror villain instead of one that has depth and one that you actually care about. Even Death Battle got the characterization of this right when they have Tetsuo versus Magneto, and Magneto reads the mind of Tetsuo. It's like, you're in pain, I will end your pain. Death Battle got the characterization of this thing right in a piece of media where they literally kill the main antagonist. They killed the main antagonist and still somehow showed more reverence and respect for the source material than this dude. They also took Kay's supporting role was downplayed to make her a love interest. Let's not give women an interesting, relevant role in the film. Let's just turn her into TNA, baby. Lucas. The American setting also drew criticism for its heavy-handed reference to the September 11th attacks and whitewashing in the casting calls, particularly the renaming of Tetsuo to Travis.
Of course.
Fucking Travis!
Good old fucking Clive. Back again.
We made that joke earlier, right?
Well, no, that was in a recording that we've done before the podcast.
Me and you talked about this earlier. Tetsuo Travis. That's a hero right there. Shortly after these events, the leaking of the script, Hughes left the project citing amicable creative differences. No, he got laughed at every time he told people who he was. In July 2011, Jean Colette Serra was hired to direct, with Steve Close providing revision work on a draft by screenwriter Albert Torres. By this point, the budget had been drastically reduced to a third of its initial one. The film was greenlit in October 2011, with the filming set to begin in March 2012. In January of that year, as production was gearing up to begin in Vancouver, Warner Bros. Abruptly halted production, citing issues with casting, the script, and the budget.
Just, simple things, really.
During the interim period, so there was a bunch of shit going on with them. Then during this interim period, where they were deciding what the hell to do with it, Warner Bros. Sought new directors to take over the film. George Miller, who directed Mad Max, and I think he could have probably done a good job, because he'd probably actually cast Japanese people.
Well, I mean,
because he's a huge fan of film as a genre. He's like a huge buff for film.
A movie where you've got to do a film based around the idea of like a horrible land filled with bikers. Sounds like the Mad Max guy might be pretty good with that kind of film.
Also, George Miller's like super into like Japanese film. Like, there's a really great interview with him where they're talking about Mad Max as basically just it's Australia's answer to a samurai movie. And he like talks about how like there's so many direct references, intentional and he says unintentional. Like, someone points like this reference to an old samurai movie out to him. He's like, I never intended that to be the case, but it's probably been burned into my brain since I was like 7 years old, and I put it in there because I thought it looked cool, and that's where it came from. He probably would have done a decent job, but he cited commitments to other projects. And keep in mind, in 2017, the other projects with George Miller would have been Happy Feet 1 and 2. Because that's he didn't work on like Mad Max Fury Road till later. So he probably turned it down to go do Happy Feet.
By 2012, that might have actually been Fury Road.
It could have been, because that was in production for like 10 years. It might have been in pre-production, or he might have been like writing the draft or something. The studio was also reported to have been in talks with Justin Lin, the director of the Fast and Furious franchise.
That's where I knew the name from. Fucking Fast and Furious. But again, over-the-top biker action, Fast and Furious guy.
You know what? I don't, but I wouldn't trust him to direct like the emotional like scenes with the emotional weight that Kira has in there. But the action probably would be pretty decent.
Well, Carl, it's all about found family, right?
Hey, you know what? That might have worked. Oh man, Dominic Toretto as Dominic Tetsuo. Let's go. Another director who was offered a chance to direct was Jordan Peele, who declined.
But at that time, maybe I can't remember how like late his movies came out, but it is just weird, that jump that Jordan Peele made from, oh, you're the comedy sketch guy, to like, oh, you directed like horror. 3 really good dark movies.
Yeah. It's really hard to talk about because they've all just got one-word names.
Yes.
No, Get Out's 2 technically, but still good films. Then we have development, Lucas. So in December 2017, it was announced that director Taika Waititi was in talks to direct. He expressed an intention to adapt the original 6-volume manga rather than directly remaking the anime film. In 2019, he officially confirmed that he was the director and will be co-writing the film with Michael Golomako. With a release date of May 2021. However, Taika Waititi was announced to direct Thor: Love and Thunder. And then, the project was uncertain, at least its future was. Warner Bros. Ultimately removed Akira from its release schedule, replacing it with The Matrix Resurrections.
The irony. The irony of replacing Akira with Matrix.
The film that ripped it off, and just the 4th Matrix fucking movie. Then we have casting, and this is the real fun stuff, Lucas. So, concept art for Robinson's 2008 production featured Chris Evans as Kaneda against Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Travis. And I'm just now thinking, they changed like Tetsuo to Travis. I hope in that movie they kept it as Kaneda, of just Chris Evans as Kaneda. What?
Like Travis and Kaneda back at it again.
In 2011, the casting process began in earnest for the other rewrite. Actors considered for Kaneda included James Franco, Robert Pattinson, and Keanu Reeves.
I mean, at least Shadow the Hedgehog's got a bike.
It's as well. At least Keanu Reeves has been in samurai movies.
Yeah, and he's been in biker movies now.
Yeah, Joe, I love us. You ever see that great edit someone did of like The Last Samurai where they just changed to the first weeaboo?
Oh
with Tom
yeah,
Cruise. Tetsuo was not cast before production halted, but actors considered for the role, and some that screen tested were Paul Dano, Alden Ehrenreich, and Toby Kebbell.
I'm a little less familiar with those.
You'd recognise Toby Kebbell's voice, like his face, and Alden Ehrenreich was the Han Solo in Solo.
Oh god, that guy.
And then Paul Dano is the Riddler from Batman.
Oh yeah. I know Paul Dano. Yeah. Also, Carl, like,
yes.
Did you see the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 poster today?
Is it one of them kissing? I saw that fake one of them kissing.
No. It is basically just straight up. The poster is just the Akira slide.
Of course it is. It's that and good a reference.
You know what? That looks fucking cool, and I'm trying to find like a better quality picture than the one I can currently find.
You do that, and I'll continue talking about the casting. As for the female love interest, which went from being a character to a love interest, Kristen Stewart was offered the role. So they want Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. I wonder what film was popular when they were doing the casting for this one. Gary Oldman was offered the role of the Colonel, but passed on the project. The role was then offered to the only Japanese name so far, Ken Watanabe, who's always just, we need an old Japanese dude in this movie. Get Ken Watanabe. And he turns up when he gets his paycheck. He says Godzilla, then he fucks off.
Yeah,
I respect it. Like, he's the guy who's in Godzilla who just says, let them fight.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, we need an old Japanese dude, get Ken Watanabe.
It's always the way, right? He's like the one guy they always bring in. I am putting on screen for everyone to see.
This is
essentially the Akira poster that they made for Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just like, you know what? I think is yes, they stole the Akira slide, but
it's not stealing, it's homage.
It's
because no one thinks they invented it, right?
And like, I think that poster, it's like they fucking nailed it.
Yeah,
that's what you want to see. You want to see Shadow doing an Akira slide. 10 out of 10, no nos.
It's that thing of it's edgy as fuck and like cringe, but that's what you want.
But that's not what Shadow is. That's what you need to lean into with Shadow.
If they're not playing shit ass butt rock every second he's on screen, I'm not playing it. If he's not reloading a Uzi like a shotgun, I'm gonna be so mad. But then finally, Lucas, we just have the fact there's a single fucking Japanese name on this. Like, this is the only Japanese name we mentioned the entire time. And then we have Helena Bonham Carter and Keira Knightley were approached for unspecified roles. For his production, however, Taika Waititi has remained tight-lipped about anyone he's considered for casting. However, he has asserted an intention to cast Asian American teenagers to play the leads to avoid concerns of whitewashing, and he will prefer lesser-known actors for the roles. So that's like, there's no confirmation of anyone that Taika Waititi would be eyeballing for a role. But I imagine if they're going to say lesser-known roles, they're just going to cast whatever. Like, I'm guessing just there's someone rubbing their hands together right now on the cast of like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, all like the Asian kids on there, like, oh man, that Akira, I'm going to attach to the Akira movie. It's going to fucking die on its ass. I'm going to get paid for 2 movies anyway. Let's go.
I mean, you're not wrong. At least the actor still gets the paycheck, right?
Exactly. But you just read through that, and it's just when you get to casting, and it's like, there's not a single fucking Japanese name on there.
Hey, there's Ken Watanabe.
That's the only one. My favourite role of his is...
Could you not make more of an effort than literally the token Asian guy? Like, one person they considered.
It reminds me, like, the opposite of this is Black Panther, where on the set of Black Panther, both Martin Freeman and oh god, who plays Gollum?
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. On set, they were called the Tolkien white guys because they were both in the Lord of the Rings, and they were the only white people on set. And apparently, Martin Freeman hated it, and Andy Serkis loved it.
Well, we kind of know nowadays why Martin Freeman hated it, right?
He was too busy trying to beat his kids. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say he's made many racist remarks in the past, apparently.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to beat his kids. That's probably like one of the most... It's an interview where it's like a masterclass, or it's like of why actors should have just like a PR guy off screen and says, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just stop.
Because there's an interview with Martin Freeman that you can go look up, and they're talking about his kids. And offhand, he mentions like, sometimes I really like, want to smack my kid. Like, I love my kids. Sometimes I just want to like grab them by the throat. And the interviewer tries to like, they give him the lifeline. They like wheel it all the way down. Say, you mean like in your head, right? You mean like you get frustrated, but you never do it, right? He's like, no, I actually want to beat my children. Like, you mean though metaphorically, like, sometimes you get so mad that you feel that you could, right? Again, they give him another rope and he passes it. It's like, no, I mean that sometimes I want to hit my children. And just the interview was like, okay, I guess this is the title of this one. Like,
well,
thanks for the.
I tried, everyone. I tried to give him his good grace.
It's like, thank you for the free headline for this one.
Oh God, and
I like look forward to being the main character of Twitter next week.
I do want to just clarify that when I said like the obvious token Japanese person on set there, I don't mean because it's Ken Watanabe or anything. I just mean because they only thought of one person.
You think the casting would have mentioned anyone else, right? It's just all about the main characters of the film.
It's like just the idea that you've considered one Japanese person in the entire casting, one East Asian person in general for the casting of the entire Akira movie.
And the answer to why they wouldn't is because just Asian actors just now they get more prevalence, and it's a thing that Hollywood is getting better with slowly but surely. But at the time, like the 2000s, there's no fucking way they was going to get a primarily Asian-led film. Like, it wasn't until like 2018. I forget when Crazy Rich Asians was released, but there's I guess we can end on a more hopeful, wholesome story that involves like Asian representation in like film, and it was the film Crazy Rich Asians, and that is apparently the film that got Ke-Huy Quan. It brought him out of retirement.
Yeah.
Because he's in Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's where he got like
his more notable role before that was Short Round in Indiana Jones.
He was Short Round in Indiana Jones, and he was in like The Goonies, I think.
Yeah,
and then his career died on its ass because there were just no roles for Asian men that weren't awful stereotypes. And he worked a little bit behind the scenes, like he was a choreographer for a little bit. Like he choreographed like the first X-Men movie, I think, because he was like, he had some martial arts experience. And I think he choreographed like The One with like Jet Li, I think, something like that. Then he kind of like left Hollywood. But then he said one day, I saw Crazy Rich Asians I saw a poster, and it's just all Asian people on the cover. I went to go watch it, and he started crying because he's like, this is what I wanted. It's taken this long. And then that's got Michelle Yeoh in it. And when they were casting for, what was it now? Everything Everywhere All at Once, he told his agent, like, okay, I want to get back to movies again. Is there anything with Michelle Yeoh? And then, well, they're casting for a husband in this film called Everything Everywhere All at Once. You can be playing like, the goofy sidekick husband, but you get to do some martial arts stuff. I want it. Give me it now. I want it now.
And yeah, I'd recommend people go watch, I can't remember what award he won, whatever acceptance speech that he did.
It was the Oscar. He got the Oscar for Best Supporting Character, I think.
I thought it was, but I wasn't 100% sure. But yeah, that acceptance speech is great, and just want to mention like the fact that, like, oh well, I finally got to like meet Harrison on like the red carpet, Harrison Ford, and he was like, I wasn't expecting him to like even remember who the hell I was, and just he immediately greeted me with a hug. Yeah. And just he started like breaking down in tears because he's like, oh man, like at least like somebody still remembers me and appreciates who I am.
Well, that's the thing, is like he said that when he was there, everyone remembered him, but like at the same time, none of them helped. No.
But I mean, that's the thing, right? Is
the actors who broke through, you got to give him some props. Like Michelle Yeoh, she cut her teeth.
Yeah,
like she was in fucking like James Bond movies.
Yeah, she was like the love interest. I think The World Never Ends.
Yeah,
The World Is Not Enough, I think it's called. Yeah.
And she was like in a bunch of like she fucking put her work in, but there's a lot of those roles that aren't great, that aren't like the best representation of people from that culture.
And man, can you imagine if they made Crazy Rich Asian, but they didn't hire any Asian people? The balls.
To be fair, I'd almost respect that. Again, for the balls to have a film called Crazy Rich Asian with no Asian people in it, but it does remind me of the acceptance speech of Bong Joon-ho when he won the Oscar for Parasite.
Mm.
It just went on screen because there was this huge kerfuffle about, oh, it's won the Oscar, but it's not in English. And it's like, oh no, this is supposed to be the best film in the world released this year, and it took 85 years for someone who doesn't like a film that's not in English to win.
But didn't it win an award that was specifically like best foreign feature or something?
It won best film.
Oh, did it?
And that's what the controversy was, because it won against the Joker, and Weird Men Online are like, oh, well, Joker's a film about the working class struggles and it's relatable. It's like, that's what Parasite's about, you fucking dipshits. And Bong Joon-ho went on stage because he knew there was all this like palaver about whether or not, a foreign language film. I mean, it's like, it's not a foreign language film for him. It's my language, but whatever. His acceptance speech where he just went on stage and went, if people get past the literal inch-high hurdle of reading subtitles, there are many more movies you might find you enjoy. And waltzed off stage. And it's like, that's all that needs to be said, right?
Yeah.
At the moment, Hollywood fucking just pulls its head out of its ass and realizes that it's not just white people. There's not just people called Chris you can cast in movies. You might notice there's a lot of other great actors out there you can cast in many roles.
Like Chris Pratt. Hey, no. Oh, no. Just, is there any, like, update past just the 2021?
No, that was the last one. Just the last thing is just, hey, it's Taika Waititi's gone on record as saying he wants to cast Asian actors in the role. And it's like, the only thing is, it's like to avoid accusations of whitewashing. That it's good that if the film ever gets made, it will have actors from, that background in the film. But it kind of sucks that the reason is I don't want to get yelled by people on Twitter rather than this is the film I wanted to make.
And we talk about that quite a lot, though, right? Of just sometimes the just cynical way of thinking
Can be.
If that's the way that we make progress, at least it's progress still.
Yeah, it's a theorem I devised of corporate cynicism is what's going to be the primary motivator for social change, and the best way to showcase that is Pride Month. Pride Month used to be a counterculture movement. It used to people used to go to parades to spit on the people taking part. Like, there's a reason why Pride parades had to exist. It's like, hey, we're gay. That's why we're here, we're queer. Get used to it. That was like the clarion call. Now Pride Month is a thing that you can go to stores and buy Pride Month flags and Pride Month merchandise. Yes, those corporations are cynically cashing in on it, but the fact that they now see it as an opportunity for revenue rather than something they would ignore is proof that it's becoming more acceptable. It's annoying that that's the reason why it does get pushed, because now Pride Month is just another month of the year where corporations and business can sell shit. The fact that they see it as an opportunity to make money showcases that, hey, being gay is now something that's acceptable enough in society where, hey, you get marketed towards too.
Yeah, the fact that they are showing their support is better than not.
Yes,
even if it is just because they see another gap in the market to make money.
Because the cynical support still actually adds to awareness, and the fact that it eventually becomes normalized is what will ultimately allow, or hopefully just permanently stamp out, that kind of bigotry. And the same thing about Hollywood. Annoyingly, these cynical casting choices of we don't want to get yelled at on Twitter for not casting a black person in this role just means that more black people get opportunities, and eventually, hopefully, it just becomes the case of they just become well-known actors who get cast in roles, and it doesn't. The hope would be that eventually it's not even a conversation, right? But
we're a long way off still, unfortunately. But
yeah,
last thing is, it made more sense when you were talking about the fact that it's like, oh, the rights got picked up by WB like 20 years ago. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, the idea that we were thinking of like whitewashing the cast back then, that was a bit more regular, but oh no, even to this day, they're still thinking about it.
Not the best, but we mentioned 9/11. And I think the absolute just number one with a bullet example of how fucking horrible Hollywood is that there's a 9/11 film, of course, released like a year after 9/11 happened. It's based, of course, it's based on true events. It dramatizes the events of like some of the firefighters who went into one of the towers and died. One of the characters in that is based on a real dude who actually fucking died that day, and he was black, and they cast a white dude to play him. And I think anything sums up like how cynical Hollywood will be, right? Of like even when they're cashing in on one of the biggest tragedies in like recent American history, they still can't help but be racist about it. Like that, like because that is the most hero of heroes, right? Like that guy is fucking Teflon, and they still had to cast a white guy.
A person that literally died saving lives in 9/11.
Yeah, and they cast a white dude to play them because they didn't. Because some Hollywood executive somewhere. And the one thing that I hope people take away from this is a lot of these Hollywood executives make these shit decisions are really fucking old. They're really old, and in 10 years they'll be fucking dead. But because they make all the decisions, they're like, you know, archaic by our standards. Like some of the people making decisions like in their 70s. So they're like, you know, 30, 40 years removed from like actual reality, but they still have the ability to make these decisions and stuff. Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully they won't be the ones making the decisions for very long, but they are right now.
By definition, they won't be. They can't be doing it for much longer, right? How much longer can they fucking live? Just got to outwait them, right?
Well, this is the scary part about the idea of at some point getting access to like, you know, biotic bodies where we're not gonna just naturally die off of old age super easily. Just the idea that that does mean that all the bigots get access to that too.
Well, there's a interview with like this futurist where he's like, I can't tell you who I've been speaking to because I'm like NDA'd out the arsehole, but myself and many of my colleagues and futurists are just like, you know, they theorize and like, you know, work out ideas for the future. So yeah, a lot of like billionaires are reaching out to myself and my colleagues to ask us, and the one that sticks out to me is, how would they pay their security team in a post-monetary society? So let's say the nuclear bomb dropped tomorrow and they go to their like underground bunker. They've asked them, okay, how would I pay my security team if money is no longer a thing? If I can no longer pay them American dollars because the American economy has collapsed and the only thing that exists is my thing, how do I stop them from just beating me to death and kicking me out and nicking my shit? And they're petrified of that idea. And they're spending millions, billions of dollars to figure out how to avoid it when they could spend that money making the world better now.
And even when they do pay them, sometimes the Secret Service doesn't do a very good job.
Nope.
I think on that note, let's just end it there, right?
See everyone next week.
Thank you all.